This is the video tour of Chapter 8 for Education 111, and this week our topic is creating a caring community of learners in our early childhood classrooms. The format this week is question and answer. So our first question is, what is a caring community of learners? And we'll have 2 slides that answer that. Then our next question, what is the value of a caring classroom of learners? We're going to do a think about it. I want you to watch the video, and this is a school using a philosophy of caring classroom communities, and I want you to see 3 areas where emotional climate positively affects the student's achievement, and then share that on our Padlet board by selecting the highlighted area right here to share your ideas. We'll also see the long-term benefits of caring classrooms and why it's important for students to developmentally acquire these social skills and self-regulation skills. This slide has a podcast in the top right corner. There's only a few slides with podcasts. Make sure you listen to them because they really expand upon what you can read on the slides. The next slide also has a podcast. And then we look at one more slide to answer this question. Our next question is, how do teachers handle difficult behavior? And this is something you'll definitely be working with if you're in an early childhood classroom. So we define challenging behavior, and then we look at the teaching pyramid model, which is a way of solving a child's social and behavioral problems. Read about it on the right, and then watch this video, and this video really explains it and gives you specific examples for the pyramid model, which is basically a tool used in all early childhood classrooms. How do children attach to caregivers, and why is this important? We've all heard of attachment, so we're going to look at different kinds of attachment. The first one is looking at the importance of relationships and who a child will develop these attachment relationships to. And then I'm going to show you what secure attachment looks like and what an insecure attachment looks like. Watch the videos on each slide. There's 2 other forms of insecure attachments, and these are really the most serious ones. We don't have examples of those through video, but you can see the reasons and the results of each of these relationships. I want to point out that children's attachment to parents and children's attachments to teachers are different, so read about these relationships on this slide. How do children attach to peers, and how do teachers facilitate this? Another kind of attachment is peer attachment, and this will talk about infants and toddlers and preschoolers and school-age children that attach. There's a podcast that will explain that for you. What are effective strategies to build a caring community of learners? Read about some of those strategies. And then I'd like you to make a connection. You're going to follow the 4-step directions. We're going to use the textbook, table 8.1, and you're going to read about it. Then you're going to apply this to what you've seen during your observational times or times in classrooms with young children, and you're going to do a sharing on Padlet. How will you handle challenging student behaviors? First thing you need to do is examine your beliefs. I want you to read through the slide and then share on Padlet 2 different things. Then we're going to learn about mistaken behaviors, and there's a podcast that will explain that to you. And then we'll talk about behavior as a form of communication. How can you organize the physical space of the classroom to create a caring community? Okay, what I'd like you to do for this is to read in your textbook, pages 248 to 250, and then watch the video on the right. And this is going to talk to you specifically about planning the classroom environment to enhance that classroom community and cooperative learning. Now, this is a great video. It really gives you lots of details. Then we're going to look at the difference between an early childhood classroom and an early elementary classroom. Both of these work with early childhood education, but we see a big difference in the classroom environment. So read about that primary classroom. Then you're going to try it out. And I get quite excited about this because if I wouldn't have become a teacher, I would have become an architect. and I loved to do design. So what I'm going to have you do is focus in on the age of learner you want to design a classroom for. Is it babies? Is it toddlers? If it's neither of those, is it preschool? Is it school age? Then arrange the classroom to enhance the social and academic behaviors for this age of learner. Include in your arrangement quiet areas, and I have 3 listed, noisy areas, I have 3 listed, and a large group area. Now, depending on if you're working with babies, toddlers, preschoolers, or school agers, this will look different. So make sure that you're really thinking about the age of learner you want to work with. And then use the video on the last slide and also your textbook to help you design this classroom. And then you're going to post your design on Padlet. And if you click right here, we have a floor plan example. Now, you have 4 different options for doing this floor plan. Some of you might not like to try this out on technology, although we have really neat resources. But if you really are kind of nervous about that, you can draw your floor plan by hand. This is something, it is our observation this week to look at classroom environment, so you might want to even think about classroom environment when you're going in to observe. That is your focus area, and you can kind of bring some of that into this drawing as well. Also, we have 3 different websites that would allow you to do the design online. The first one's probably the trickiest. It's called floorplanner.com. Has a lot of neat options, but it's probably the most sophisticated. Then Classroom Architect has a link, and Scholastic has a link. These are both very user-friendly, easy. When you finish your plan, it'll either have you save it as a JPEG or it'll have you take a screenshot. Either one is fine, but then you'll be able to post those on Padlet. Okay, I'd like to see those designs. How can you organize the daily schedule of the classroom to help create that caring community? How your day flows will really have an impact on those learners. So we talk about how young children, how their day should look. There's an example in your textbook on page 251 you can check out, but some of the things that we need to have on that daily schedule are included here. And an important part of that schedule is transition time. Transition time is really important. It's the time where children can misbehave the most. It's wasted learning time if you allow it to be. And so here are some tips for transitioning. And then what I'd like you to do is find a transition that you'd like to share with the group. We have 3 different resources, and when you click on the outside of the phone. It'll work best for you because we have 3 different links. They may or may not work if you click on the inside. So click on the outside. The first one is Transition Songs and Chants. This is a Pinterest board of preschool, toddler transitions. It's really phenomenal. And then this last one really focuses on music to transition. So just check them out. Find one that you really like and share it right here on our Padlet board. And when you share it, make sure you share the age of the child that you think this would work best for. Is it best for toddlers? Is it best for preschoolers? Is it best for school agers? Another part of that day is keeping things routine, and this describes the importance of why routine is important and a 3-step plan to having routines in your classroom that will work. How can you establish clear rules with young children? One of the best ways is to help the children establish the rules with you. If they're, even toddlers can help with this, but definitely preschool and school age need to be part of that planning. Looks at some specific guidelines, but also I love to use literature to help children understand rules and procedures. Literature is something that's concrete, but you share it and you talk about it. So this is 35 books to teach rules and procedures. If you click on this, it will take you to a great link that will kind of spell out each of those and give you some great ideas to say for the future when you're brainstorming rules with a class of learners. How can teachers support and guide children's behavior in the classroom? We're going to look at those mistaken behaviors. There's 3 steps we want to work through. We're going to look at the difference between guidance and punishment, look at emotional literacy, and conflict resolution. So just follow through with those slides. Then we're going to try to think about it. And I'm going to be honest with you, this video you're going to watch I must have watched it 10 times. It is the cutest thing in the world. I had every person in my house watch it. But it shows a very typical situation between toddlers or young preschoolers. And we'll talk through the presentation about when is a good time to teach conflict resolution and help children learn positive behaviors. This is one of those ideas that we can really see through the video. So we have 3 questions. I want you to read those questions before you watch the video, and you'll need your textbook for table 8.2 on page 258. Watch the video, think about those questions, jot your answers down, and Dropbox them for participation. What can teachers do with that child that persists in challenging to you, that 1 or 2, that just really you can't help with the overall adaptations you've made for everyone else? They will need an intensive individualized intervention, and this talks you through the steps. And then it tells you how you can, move forward. We call this the ABC procedure. It looks at A, antecedent, B, behavior, and C, consequence. So read through those. And then we talk about how we can give positive behavior support. Going back to that teaching pyramid model, if we take the children in our classroom we've talked about through this whole entire presentation, how do we apply the teaching model for success? And you're going to basically read the situations on page 262 to 267. They look at 3 specific examples of situations that may be a challenging behavior in your classroom and talk about how to make it better using that pyramid model. Then I want you to watch the video. It has a short situation of a child, and using what you've learned from reading and the video, you're going to apply that to the pyramid model. So you're going to talk about how this child could be helped by having a nurturing and responsive relationship with the caregiver in the classroom, how high-quality supportive environments will help this situation, and how targeted social emotional support will help. You go back to the section on the pyramid model and also the section on page 262 to 267 to see how this plays out in the situation, and then you're going to make a plan for this little person in your classroom and Dropbox the answers. Remember, it's not about yelling at the child. It's not about seeing the child as bad, but it's about what we can do on our side, how we can have a relationship that will avoid this happening, how we can have an environment that will help avoid this. What could you do proactively in your classroom so this would never occur? And then if it really did occur, what kind of intervention could you make? Okay, because this would be something that was ongoing. So really that's your perspective when you try this out. This is a Dropbox, so it goes in that participation Dropbox. That's it for information this week. We have 2 sections left. Project introductions. We have a guidance activity. It's worth 25 points. Go to D2L and get the project handout. Watch the video. And then you'll need to head back into D2L to find out the topic that you are going to be looking up for the activity. It's posted in the news section on D2L. There's 4 topics: timeout, guiding behavior, conflict resolution, and bullying. So they go right along with what we've been learning this week. And you're going to kind of take it one step further in one of those areas that you've been assigned. Next, we have our 4th classroom observation. And you have 2 weeks to complete that. It is due on April 11th. And you'll need to go into D2L and get the observation handout ready. And then watch the video, and it should give you all the explanation you need for this next observation. Last, we have our weekly assignments. It's broken down for our participation. So online, you have 5 Padlet boards. They're listed there with the slide that corresponds. And in our Dropbox for participation, you have 2 activities, and those slides are listed as well. Also this week, you're going to schedule and complete those 2 hours of observation for the classroom environment. That's due on the 11th. And you'll need to complete the guidance project, which is due on the 4th. If you get a chance, skim Chapter 9, and that will prepare you for next week. So good luck. There's a lot of material. We have 56 slides, although lots of those you can flip through quickly because there are questions that I just read to you and some are project handouts. But really take your time working through this and try to make connections at each stage. That is actually the reason why we have our online and our Dropbox participation. So you can take the material in the textbook and you can make your own personal connections and also get some resources to use in the classroom in these areas. So this is important to work through very systematically, and if you do, you'll get a lot out of it. Good luck this week and let me know if you have any questions.